And the final day of this NCAA championship is finals day for the women here at Hayward Field. A fabulous facility remade over the last 2 years, and we have the athletes to match. John Anderson, Dwight Stones, Jill Montgomery here for all of it.
As we get ready now for the 5,000 meters. There are the records. And there is Mercy Chelangat of Alabama, who finished second in the 10,000 meters on Thursday night.
This is more of Chelangat's race, really. This is where she really kind of has a second and third gear when it comes to her speed. On Thursday in the 10,000, that's the most we've ever seen her challenged in a race all year. And it was interesting to see how the mental part of that played into it. She had told me that she just really wants to stay mentally focused throughout this entire championships, doubling back from the 10 to the 5. Not an easy feat.
24 athletes qualified to be here, 12 from the West Regional and College Station 2 weeks ago, and 12 from Jacksonville, Florida, the East prelim 2 weeks ago, and they're just running a final. There were no prelims here, so these all are the athletes that qualified, many of them doubling back from the 10,000 meters contested earlier, some moving up from the steeplechase. And they just added in the points for A&M from the high jump. So that cuts the lead to 13 points that USC has over Texas A&M. Just thought I would update that as I just saw it flash up. And amazingly, Mercy Chelangat not going immediately to the front. So we will step aside now that they've got this underway. And we'll go downstairs to John Anderson.
Thank you, Dwight. Yeah, that one's underway. I'm here with Tyra Gittens, who is finished, and it appears she couldn't be more thrilled about it. It's the first time I've seen you smile today, which is great, but you finally look worn out from the long jump and the totality of the effort. And if you could, talk about the effort that you had to make over the last couple of days.
This weekend has been the hardest weekend in my collegiate history of just my collegiate career. I'm used to doing, like this amount, but having SEC so close and only having a week to recover, training is difficult to fit, and so you have to get over some minor injuries to make sure you're ready, and so training was very minimum, but I have never said this, but I am so happy to be done. I'm done with NCAAs. This meet was not how I wanted it to go, but I'm happy that I said I came in, I did what I had to do, and I finished. And yeah.
Just so people know, because you're not 100%. You run, you jump, you throw, but apparently sometimes we turn our ankle just walking. What happened?
On Monday of last week, I was walking home, and I tripped on some grass. I wasn't even looking at my phone. The sidewalk, and then this is basically the grass, and I stepped on it half and half, and I just went tumbling. Cars were honking, they were like, boo! And I was like, so for like 3-4 days, even leading up to this, even when we came here, I still had my ankle ache. So that's why I said, you have to get over minor injuries, and training was very minimum. So I'm happy with my score. Mm-hmm. It's still my second best score, even though high jump and long jump didn't go great, and that proved to me that I'm a consistent multi, and I don't need to do something amazing in those two events to do good. So that's one thing I'm really proud of myself for.
So you get 3 or 4 days, you don't have to put any KT tape on. What do you do between now and the Olympics?
Well, the first week and a half is going to be treatment and rest. Season takes a toll on all of the NCAA athletes, and then we have to go into the professional world where they get a lot of break between meets. So, it's really just recovering mentally and physically, and the physically is going to be the most taxing. That's the most to get back.
I think you got a season eligibility left. You want to come back. Do we know what's happening there?
Anything can happen. I mean, I love A&M with all my heart. And also, like, I mean, I'm ready to see Tyra outside of NCAA. So I'm torn. We don't know. We never know.
Well, if it's just this one or a career, it's been brilliant and wonderful to watch, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Tyra Gittens. Hey, Jill, and she says 228 is just fine.
What'd she say?
She told me 225.
Jill, you crazy
She said you were going to go 225, and you were 228.
I was supposed to, and then I had an exhausting high jump session.
That's right. I'm on your side, totally.
I got
I'm
you.
with you the
I got
whole way.
You,
Get out of here.
I got you. I got you.
Jill, back to you.
All right, back at the 5,000 meters. When they come around to the start-finish line, they will have 8 laps remaining. That is senior Whitney Orton of BYU, who has kind of been out there on her own all along. It's about a 15-meter gap right now, 12 to 15-meter gap. No one else going with her.
BYU has just made a great showing in the longer races today. And I had a great talk with Whitney earlier, and she's a really good 1,500-meter runner, and she said that her semifinal that she ran on Thursday really plays into the mental part of this 5,000. And it's just the passion that she has to get better every single time that she steps out onto this track. And, you know, she's done a really nice job in this first mile. This race kind of gets broken down into thirds a little bit, Dwight. And this first mile that they've run, all you want to do here is just really establish a really good goal pace, positioning, and Whitney decided to just take it out. Now, if you're in this backpack, you're sitting there thinking she's going to end up coming back with us or to us. So they're just going to keep her in their striking range and then see if in the second mile that they go into, where the intensity usually starts to pick up. And if you're in the lead pack or the chase pack, this is where the mental part of this race really hits on how you're feeling. I've talked all season about the physical feeling of this 5,000, and there's 2 parts to that. In this race, in the second mile, you're like, how am I feeling? Am I tired? Am I hurting? Am I laboring? And then there's the psychological part of that, how you feel about how you feel physically, and being able to either make a move or stay at the pace you're at, or if you feel like you're going slow and you're hurting, how much can you really pick it up?
So Orton continuing to lead. When she comes around to the start-finish, it'll be 7 laps. In the chase pack, there's Ellie Hennis of North Carolina State and Joyce Camelli doubling back from the steeplechase earlier.
Mercy Chilangat's currently running 8th in the middle of that chase pack, right there in the all-maroon. She was second in the 10,000 2 days ago, but this race is one of her better races, and right now, bet that she is just staying patient and stalking the rest of these women like prey.
And next to the half stretch, direct your attention to the award stand. Here is the presentation of awards for top 3 finishers of women's high jump.
And we're used to seeing Chilangat kind of out front, starting to make a bit of a move there. She is the NCAA cross-country champ. That was at 8,000 meters. You mentioned second in the 10K, a huge performance at the SEC in winning multiple events there. And now, as she goes through here in the 5K, with her all the way is her brother, Vincent Kiprot, another Bama distant standout, and he cheers her, and he is with her and supports her every step of the way in the stands right now, vocal, watching his sister, pulling for her, Bama and Kenya.
My brother is my best friend. He helped me come to University of Alabama. Like, he's the one who made me come to University of Alabama. And I was happy because, I mean, like, being with him, it's really helpful because when you're far from home, you have to, like, be with, you just tend to look for a family to be with or something because you're far from your family back home. Most of the time he tells me that I can, like, do great, like I can be the best, because he said if you put your mind into something, you can really achieve it, like you can really achieve anything. It's really been, like, amazing. He's just the best.
He didn't have the championship he wanted here, but he has been literally a vocal. He sits here, and then whenever Mercy gets within about 50 meters of him either way, he is up and he is cheering. And the other night when it looked like Dwight and Jill, she was going to win the 10K, I went over to him and I said, hey, do you want to come down and see your sister? And he said, no thanks, I don't want to get into her spotlight. this is her time, and she should shine. It's really just a wonderful relationship between every brother and sister should get along this way, right? Because we hear so often it's the other way, and they get along so fantastic.
They've been amazing to cover all year, John, and Chalangat has now moved up into fourth, and you see that gap between Whitney Orton and that chase pack close.
Now Orton has been reeled back in. Hennis of North Carolina State is there now. Katie Wasserman of Notre Dame in third place, with Chalangat now in fourth. It's like she just took the first mile plus and said, you know, I just want to stay within myself. I don't want to really challenge myself too much. It's not going that fast. I can handle this. And she, as you mentioned, she has more gears in the 5,000 than she does in the 10.
Yeah, her gears are insane. But this second mile, this is where the intensity starts to pick up. You saw that gap close, and this is where you've got to stay very active. You do. You start. Everything starts to burn a little bit more, but this is where you maintain the threshold work, taxing the heart rate, and getting into that VO2 max. It gets quicker from here. There's a lot of pace shifting here that happens in this second mile going into the last mile of this race. But again, Mercy Chalangat has an absolute another gear on top of a gear when she runs this 5K.
So Chalangat now in control of the pace. Ellie Hennis, the senior from North Carolina State, right there. Then Katie Wasserman in the green of the Irish. Whitney Orton, who was leading out there by herself for so much of the first third plus of this race, and now starting to drop a little bit. She's in fourth, but losing contact with the top three.
You go back to the John McDonald Invitational that I've talked about a couple times this season with Chalangat, where she ran the 5K, and this last mile that they just went into, she ran 4:39 in the last mile of that event. She went 71, 69, 69, and 68. So she is right in her wheelhouse right now. The top three of this pack, in this last mile, this is where you actually really start to race. The physical and the mental start to come in together. How you feel physically, and if you're Whitney Orton, who is now starting to lose touch with these three, you have to figure out where your answers can be. But these last three laps, this is where that speed endurance comes in. It's the mindset of how you simulate a race in practice. So a lot of these women, to close in these last three laps, they're doing a lot of repeat work. It's not really high mileage. It's lower volume and higher intensity. Things like repeat thousands, 5 to 7 of them at 3K pace with only like a minute and a half rest in between. A lot of cadence work, learning how to accelerate. Repeat 600s that are cut down. So you run a 600, and then the last 200 starts to, of each 400 starts to get quicker and quicker, and that's what helps with this turnover that you're starting to see from all three of these women right now going into these final couple laps. Everything's going to start to get faster, and this is where that speed strength training from all of those workouts start coming into play.
Let's step aside from this event for a moment and update you on the team scores. All the events have been concluded, including field events, except for the 4x400 relay and here in the 5,000. Neither USC or Texas A&M have athletes in this race, but they do have teams in the 4x4. But the most amount that you can possibly get in the 4x400 is 10 points. So there's no chance for Texas A&M to catch USC. So the women of Troy have clinched the national team title here in Eugene, Oregon, with this 5,000 meters yet to be concluded, and the concluding event of the meet, the 4x400 meter relay.
Now we have three other runners that have closed on the top three of the lead pack. And this is going to get interesting. This pace actually slowed down a little bit on that last lap, Dwayne. They went 75 on that last lap. And then 76. That last 800 was 234. And this is where you want to look at their body. Look at what their arms are doing. Look at how their knees are lifted. Are they in front or are they back? Wasserman and Hines in the front look very relaxed. Where you don't want to be is where Chalangat is right now. She is boxed in on that rail, and Has from Minnesota is right there, and so is Haymock
of Stanford.
She is
there.
Where you don't want to be is in on that rail.
All right, they're coming up to the bell, and there were only 3 in a pack that looked like they were breaking away. Now there are 6 who are in contention to win this title.
Wow.
And score points. There is the bell. And Katie Wasserman leads them through. And the constant up in front has been Ellie Hennis, the senior from North Carolina State. There on Wasserman's shoulder. Chalangat still in contact, but faded back to 5th.
So they went 75, 74 on those last 2 laps. And so it's going to be, this is going to be a lot of them up being able to kick on this last 250. Wasserman from Notre Dame looking a little more fluid, but Hines makes the move with 200 to go.
She's been up at the front the entire time. Ellie Hines from North Carolina State. She was matching Chalangat, but Wasserman is not giving up. She cranks up her turnover, and it's a 2-woman race for the title. It just looks like Hennis has more in the tank than does Wasserman. Haas will get 3rd. Here comes Chalangat trying for 4th, but she's going to be beaten to the line.
By Jenna Magnus of Michigan State. Get nipped her for 4th.
15:28:05 for Hennis. About 10 seconds off the time she ran at the West Coast Relays earlier this year, which was the number 4 time in the country and has been for the remainder of the season.
Ellie Hennis ran a really nice last 200. She stayed and moved perfectly.
Go, Ellie!
In that last curve, you want to stay as close into lane 1 as you can. She passed Wasserman right at about the 200-meter mark. Wasserman tries to answer and cover, but Hennis, look at the knee lift. This race was a little bit slower than I thought it would be. The last 4 laps were around 74, 75, so a lot of these women had a lot left in the tank. That's a huge win for Hennis at NC State.
So Chalangat 2nd in the 10,000, 5th here in the 5,000 meters for Alabama, the sophomore, and from Kenya as well. So the results are official. Hennis of North Carolina State winning the 5,000 over Katie Wasserman, Bethany Haas, and then Jenna Magnus. We will be back with the concluding event, the 4x400 meter relay.
Ellie, can we get you for an ESPN interview?
Here's the finish of that 5,000 meters. Ellie Hennis of North Carolina State holding off Katie Wasserman of Notre Dame for the 5,000. And her mom, who last won this race for NC State, was there, and the winner is with John.
Thank you, Dwight. Ellie Hennis is here. I think she was running fast to just beat the rain, maybe here in Eugene, because it looks like it's on its way. So this thing gets decided kind of the last lap. So what are we thinking for the first, 4,600 meters? What's going through our mind?
Relax, set in, and try not to think, honestly, as much as possible.
Look around. Do we take in the sights?
I looked around a bit.
Yeah.
Got a nice stadium here, so something to take in during the race.
But obviously you're mindful of the competition. There's some really good women in there.
Yes.
Right? So how did you decide that I'm going to sort this thing out and it's going to come out in my favor?
I think I didn't really have a race plan going into it, other than, kick last. So I pretty much did that. I think it was kind of interesting, like swapping the leads every now and again. Whitney took it out hard, and at that point I was kind of just deciding whether I should hang back or go with her, and thankfully most of the pack ended up going with her too. So we had a good pack for the whole race, and that was nice to have around.
At any point before the race, during it, in the few minutes after that, you thought, My mom was the last NC State Wolfpack runner to win this race as well back in 1991. That's astonishing. What's it mean to you?
I mean, that means the world to me. Having her as my coach and having her throughout my whole entire running career, it's like the perfect fairy tale ending, honestly. Couldn't have asked for anything more.
It is a fairy tale ending. And since you haven't seen your mom, what are you doing talking to me? Go find your mother. Thank you very much. Ellie Hennis, champ in the 5K.
Go Pack.
Wasserman from Notre Dame looking a little more fluid, but Hines makes the move with 200 to go.
She's been up at the front the entire time. Ellie Hines from North Carolina State. She was matching Chalangat, but Wasserman is not giving up. She cranks up her turnover, and it's a two-woman race for the title. It just looks like Hennis has more in the tank than does Wasserman.
That's a huge win for Hennis at NC State.
What a moment there for Ellie Hennis. A national champ wins the 5,000 meter run at the NCAA Track and Field Championship. Even cooler story with this as well. The last NC State runner to win that event was her mom, Lori, who also happens to be her coach. Did it back in 1991. Was quite the day, not just for NC State, but also her family. So we had to talk to her. We needed to hear a little bit more. Ellie Hennis with us now. Ellie, congratulations. I'm sure that you are still riding that high of winning a national championship, but take me through the end of that race, the end of that event. What's going through your head as you feel like it's within reach?
Thank you so much. I think going through the last mile of that race, going into the last mile, I was kind of looking around probably a bit too much. A couple of my friends and family told me I just kept looking up at the screen to just see my placement and see where everyone else was. There weren't too many thoughts going through my mind other than, there's a group of really good girls here. I know Katie has a really good kick. I think there are a few other girls I saw behind me that I knew also had some good kicks. So honestly, I was just thinking like, okay, take this lap, one lap at a time. And when the kick comes, just kick last.
To be able to say that you're a national champion is really cool. To be able to say that you did it for the first time since your mom in that event for NC State. I mean, what was the moment like with you guys afterwards? I know she's your coach, but just on a personal level to both have that in your back pocket now.
I mean, it was definitely the first thing I said when I went up to her. I ran up to her and hugged her. I didn't even get to see her for a while. I didn't know where she was at in the stands. Even during the race, I kept trying to listen for like words of encouragement or something, some type of like telling me what to do. And I didn't even find her till after the race. And then when I did, we just hugged. And I think it means so much to the both of us. And if I could fully put it into words, then I would. But it's just that feeling of knowing that there's no one else that's gonna like push me the way that she can and the way that she's able to, because we have that mother-daughter relationship. That, I feel like there's some lines, some barriers that other coaches wouldn't be able to cross or wouldn't feel the need to cross, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm her daughter, she can be the person to look at me and say like, hey, you haven't been doing everything that everything that will set you up and align you with the goals that you've said that you have. And as a mom, she's able to say like, hey, what are you doing? Pull your head out of your butt. Like, it's time to get ready. It's time to actually focus in. And I do think that that'd be a lot harder with someone who I didn't have that relationship with.
Yeah, Ellie, that's really cool to hear, and I know that she is certainly incredibly proud of you, as is all of Wolfpack Nation. Now you have a national championship. You have finished your career there. As you start, I know, to maybe let this soak in a little bit. I heard that you've had a nice day to sleep in today, but what's next for you? I know running is going to continue to be a part of your story for a long time.
Yeah, so I want to be able to run as long as possible. We're going to see where that takes me coming up soon. I want to study psychology and sports psychology specifically, and just kind of stay in that sports world and preferably running world, working mentally, physically, everything with the sport, because it's become my biggest passion.
Ellie, congratulations, national championship, well done, and hopefully we will talk to you again soon down the road. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.